The Grand Galactic Council chamber buzzed with an air of superiority that could have choked a space whale. Representatives from across the known universe had gathered for what they believed would be their most brilliant solution yet to the human problem. The massive crystalline dome above reflected countless stars, though none shone quite as bright as the collective ego in the room. High Councillors Rix-Tal, with their shimmering membrane wings and entirely too many eyes, floated at the center podium. They had the smug look of someone who'd just discovered faster-than-light travel, except that it happened eons ago, and this was supposedly even better. Esteemed members of the Council's Rix-Tal's voice resonated through their speech apparatus. We have finally found the perfect solution to contain these. Humans, they pronounced the word like it was stuck between their fourth and fifth tongue. Ambassador Kleepop, a gelatinous blob who'd once tried to digest a human diplomatic message thinking it was food, wobbled excitedly. Please tell us you've found a way to stop them from turning everything into a weapon. Last week, one of them weaponized our relaxation pods into something they called a giant bouncy castle. Even better, Rix-Tal's primary eyes gleamed while their secondary ones scanned the room for appropriate levels of appreciation. We've found the perfect prison planet. It's absolutely horrific, a Deathworld by any reasonable standard. The holographic display activated, showing a blue-green marble spinning in space. Several council members recoiled in horror. The atmosphere is contaminated with highly corrosive oxygen, Rix-Tal continued, their wings fluttering with barely contained excitement. The gravity is crushing. The temperature fluctuates wildly between freezing and boiling, and parts of the surface are covered in billions of razor-sharp crystalline structures they call grass. Surely you don't mean Ambassador Iraq-T, whose species evolved in the gentle methane seas of their homeworld, left the sentence hanging. Yes, we're sending them back to Earth, Rix-Tal announced triumphantly. Their own planet is the perfect prison. It's so hostile that no reasonable species would ever want to visit. We'll establish a containment field around their solar system and let the horrific conditions keep them in check. The council chamber erupted in appreciative clicks, whistles, and psychic emanations of approval. A few representatives even began secreting victory pheromones, causing the environmental systems to work overtime. But what about their tendency to adapt, asked Dr. Mensulplix, whose 16-dimensional brain had calculated 17 different ways this could go wrong in the first microsecond. Rix-Tal waved 3 of their appendages dismissively. How much could they possibly adapt? The planet regularly bombards them with high-energy radiation from their star. They have to constantly fight against crushing gravity. Their bodies are mostly made of highly reactive dihydrogen monoxide. They paused for dramatic effect. Trust me, this is foolproof. All in favor of implementing Operation Return to Sender, High Chancellor Voop Voop gurgled from their suspension tank. The vote was unanimous, save for Dr. Mensulplix, who was too busy calculating the 18th way this could go wrong to participate. As the council members filed out, congratulating themselves on their brilliance, Rix-Tal added one final note to the official record. Let it be known that on this rotation, we, the Galactic Council, have solved the human problem once and for all by sentencing them to the most inhospitable prison ever conceived, their own homeworld. The only sound that followed was the soft whirring of Dr. Mensulplix's probability calculator, which had just discovered ways 19 through 47 that this plan could spectacularly backfire. Little did they know, somewhere on Earth, a human had just figured out how to turn their containment field specifications into a recipe for what they called a cosmic pizza oven. The day Earth became officially designated as Space Prison 47283X, they weren't very creative with names. Humanity's reaction was less than terrified. In fact, the first official response came in the form of a global party so massive it probably registered on the Galactic Council's sensors as unusual seismic activity. Dr. Marcus Chen, Earth's leading xenobiologist, was in the middle of dissecting an alien communication device when the news broke. He had to stop because he couldn't stop laughing, which made precise scientific work rather difficult. The device, meant to be an advanced piece of technology, had been packaged in what was essentially bubble wrap because the aliens thought Earth's atmosphere would corrode it instantly. They really think we're trapped here, he asked his lab assistant, wiping tears from his eyes. On the planet we evolved on. The one we've been trying to protect from our own mess for centuries. He picked up the alien device again, which was still pristinely wrapped in its supposedly protective coating. These are the same beings who think water is a universal solvent and sunshine is deadly radiation. The aftermath of First Contact had been a comedy of errors from the start. When the alien diplomatic corps first arrived, they'd worn environmental suits thick enough to survive a supernova because they'd detected dangerous levels of oxygen in Earth's atmosphere. The human delegates had tried not to laugh. They failed miserably. During the failed diplomatic sessions that followed, things only got more absurd. The aliens had refused to sit in human chairs, convinced the Earth's crushing gravity would collapse their internal structures. They'd brought their own floating platforms, which one human child had accurately described as space whoopee cushions. Dr. Chen's personal favorite moment was when Ambassador Zrix-Tal had witnessed rain for the first time. The alien diplomat had practically short-circuited, screaming about dihydrogen monoxide falling from the sky and demanding immediate evacuation. It had taken 3 hours to convince them that this was in fact normal and no, humans weren't melting. Now, as he reviewed the official containment notice, Dr. Chen couldn't help but marvel at the list of Earth's supposedly deadly features. "Look at this," he called out to his team, reading from the document. "Earth hazards include regular exposure to UV radiation, extreme gravitational conditions, toxic oxygen-rich atmosphere, and my personal favorite, aggressive flora." "They mean grass, don't they?" his colleague Dr. Thompson asked, already knowing the answer. "They absolutely mean grass." The containment field the aliens had erected around the solar system was impressive, Chen had to admit. It was also hilarious because they'd included detailed technical specifications in their "we're imprisoning you for your own good" message. Human engineers were already having a field day with the data. "You know what's really funny?" Chen mused, looking out his lab window at a group of children playing soccer in what the aliens had termed a field of microscopic blades. "They chose to imprison us here because they think Earth is a death trap, but they never once stopped to consider why we're so comfortable here." The aliens' misconceptions about Earth's deadly environment had reached nearly mythological status among humans. They believed humans were either suicidal or insane for swimming in oceans' massive pools of corrosive dihydrogen monoxide, climbing mountains voluntarily ascending into thinner atmosphere, or simply walking around without protective suits exposed to raw oxygen. A notification popped up on Chen's tablet, another message from the Galactic Council, warning humanity about the dangers of something called seasonal temperature fluctuations, better known to humans as weather. "They really think they're doing us a favor," Chen chuckled, shaking his head as he returned to his work. On his desk, a potted plant which, according to alien classifications, was a Class 3 hazardous life form, swayed gently in the breeze from his open window. Outside, thunder rolled across the sky, and Chen could almost imagine the aliens monitoring Earth from orbit, recording it as atmospheric acoustic warfare in their logs. He made a mental note to update his research paper, tentatively titled "Galactic Misconceptions: How Earth Became the Universe's Most Misunderstood Planet." As he worked, another notice arrived. The Galactic Council was expressing grave concern about human children engaging in something called jumping in puddles. They classified it as high-risk behavior requiring immediate intervention. Dr. Chen added it to his growing file labeled "Things Aliens Think Will Kill Us, but Actually Make Life Worth Living." 6 months into humanity's imprisonment on Earth, the only thing that had changed was the number of beach parties. If anything, being confined to Earth had sparked a planetary renaissance of innovation, largely fueled by the collective human response of "oh yeah, watch this." The supposedly secret underground resistance movement wasn't very underground or secret. They called themselves the Earthling Enhancement Society and held their meetings in public parks, complete with barbecues and volleyball tournaments. Their mission statement, "Making our Deathworld more deathy." Dr. Marcus Chen found himself at one such gathering, watching as children gleefully demonstrated their latest survival techniques to the alien monitoring drones. This included such dangerous activities as building sandcastles and having water balloon fights. "The latest data from the alien surveillance feeds is hilarious," announced Dr. Raj Patel, head of the Counterintelligence Division. "Between bites of a hot dog, an item now classified as a biological weapon by the Galactic Council. They think we're performing high-risk combat training exercises. It's a kindergarten field day." The scientific breakthroughs came fast and furious, mostly because humans finally had detailed technical specifications of alien technology helpfully provided in their own containment protocols. Chen's team had been particularly productive, mainly because they'd stopped trying to figure out how alien biology worked and started figuring out what aliens thought would kill them. "Here's the thing," Chen explained to the assembled crowd, pointing to his presentation titled "Why Our Jailers Are Adorably Fragile." "They evolved on worlds that make bubble wrap look dangerous. Their environmental suits? They're not protecting them from our atmosphere, they're protecting them from basically everything. The list of alien weaknesses read like a child's summer day: direct sunlight, mild temperature changes, light breezes, the sound of waves, and most hilariously, the smell of fresh-cut grass. The last one had led to the development of what humanity called the lawnmower defense system. But the real breakthrough came from studying the containment field itself. Dr. Lisa Wong, quantum physicist and amateur gardener, made the discovery while watering her tomatoes. The field isn't designed to keep us in, she explained, soil still under her fingernails as she pointed to complex equations. It's designed to keep everything Earth-like out. They're not trying to contain us, they're trying to quarantine what they think is a planet-wide biohazard. This revelation led to Project Pandora, humanity's master plan. Instead of trying to break out of their prison, they decided to work with it. The containment field's own specifications became the blueprint for humanity's counter-technologies. Dr. Wong's team developed what they called Earth Essence Generators, devices that basically concentrated everything aliens found terrifying about Earth. The prototype was essentially a humidifier that sprayed salt water while playing beach sounds and releasing the scent of freshly mowed lawn. Meanwhile, in what could only be described as peak human behavior, people began treating the alien containment protocols as challenge guidelines. You think our gravity is crushing? Let's go skydiving. Concerned about our deadly oceans, surfing competition, worried about our toxic atmosphere, deep breathing exercises for everyone. The Galactic Council's monitoring stations recorded all of this with increasing alarm. Their latest report described human activities as increasingly erratic and suicidal, particularly noting concern about something called outdoor yoga. But the real masterpiece was the development of the Terrestrial Environmental Replication System, or TERS. Dr. Chen's team had basically created a portable Earth simulator capable of reproducing Earth-normal conditions anywhere in the galaxy. To humans, it was a basic life support system. To aliens, it was a weapon of mass destruction. Just imagine, Chen said, holding up the prototype, which looks suspiciously like a modified super soaker. We can now bring everything they fear about Earth wherever we go. Oxygen? Check. Normal gravity? You bet. The smell of rain? Absolutely. The human resistance, still adamantly refusing to go underground, despite numerous suggestions that proper resistance movements should be more secretive, had effectively turned their prison into a research and development facility. Every alien attempt to monitor and control humanity just provided more data, more technology, and more opportunities. Dr. Patel's intelligence team had started categorizing alien surveillance reports by humor value. The current favorite was a detailed analysis of human children playing hopscotch, which the aliens had classified as ritualistic gravity defiance training. As humanity's understanding of alien psychology and technology grew, so did their ability to exploit it. They didn't need to break out of their prison, they were turning it into a launching pad. The best part, Dr. Wong announced during one of the weekly resistance barbecues, is that they're so convinced we're suffering that they keep sending us more data to help us understand our terrible situation. They included their entire xenobiology database in the last transmission, because they thought we needed to come to terms with our harsh reality. The harsh reality in question was currently being celebrated with a massive global festival. Humanity had taken the alien list of Earth's deadly features and turned it into a scavenger hunt. Points were awarded for activities the aliens considered unsurvivable: swimming, mountain climbing, gardening, and the apparently terrifying act of walking in the rain. As Dr. Chen watched a group of teenagers attempting to terrify the monitoring drones by having a picnic, he couldn't help but smile. The aliens had tried to turn Earth into humanity's prison, but all they'd done was remind humans why they loved their homeworld in the first place. Should we tell them? Asked Dr. Wong, watching as another alien warning about the dangers of prolonged exposure to plant life scrolled across her tablet. Na Chen replied, accepting a dangerous Class 3 hazardous lifeform hot dog from the grill. Let them figure it out themselves. It'll be funnier that way. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood before the United Earth Defense Force, trying to maintain a serious expression while explaining what had to be the most ridiculous military strategy in human history. The presentation screen behind her showed what looked like plans for a massive picnic. Ladies and gentlemen, she announced, Operation Garden Party is a go. And yes, we're keeping that name specifically because it will confuse the hell out of alien intelligence. The plan was brilliant in its simplicity: use everything the aliens feared about Earth as a weapon. Captain Rodriguez's team had already proven its effectiveness with their first field test, which they dubbed the Great Sprinkler Incident. As we learned from Dr. Chen's research, Rodriguez continued, pacing before the assembled troops, our alien friends have some interesting vulnerabilities. They're terrified of water in any form. They think oxygen is corrosive, and they're convinced our local flora is actively trying to kill them. She paused, fighting back a grin. In other words, we're going to defeat an advanced alien civilization with super soakers, leaf blowers, and grass clippings. The first major operation targeted the alien monitoring station on Luna. Captain Rodriguez had selected her elite team, nicknamed the Garden Warriors, for this crucial mission. Their weapons modified TERS devices disguised as ordinary landscaping tools. Remember, she briefed her team as they prepared for launch. According to their own containment protocols, they can't survive more than 30 seconds of exposure to Earth normal conditions. We don't need to fight them, we just need to make them think they're about to experience a light drizzle. The alien base never stood a chance. As the human ships approached, broadcasting what appeared to be mundane Earth weather reports, panic spread through the alien facility. The final straw was when Rodriguez's team activated their rain cloud simulators, actually just ultrasonic humidifiers with some special effects. The aliens abandoned the base so quickly they left their equipment behind. The human victory report simply read base captured through strategic deployment of morning dew. Back at the Galactic Council, the realization of their massive mistake was starting to sink in. High Counselor Zrix Tal received the report of the lunar base's fall, with all 8 of their eyes wide in horror. What do you mean they're using oxygen as a weapon? They demanded, their membrane wings fluttering in distress. That's impossible. No sane species would weaponize corrosive gases. But the evidence was undeniable. Humans weren't just surviving their prison, they were thriving in it, and had somehow turned every deadly aspect of Earth into an advantage. The Council watched in mounting horror as human ships, equipped with what they called Earth normal environmental generators, began pushing outward from their solar system. Captain Rodriguez's guerrilla tactics proved especially effective. Her teams would approach alien outposts, broadcasting footage of Earth's most terrifying natural phenomena: rainforests, ocean waves, and children playing in puddles. The psychological impact was devastating. Today's forecast calls for scattered showers with a high chance of surrender became the unofficial motto of her fleet. The aliens' sophisticated defense systems proved useless against attacks they'd never conceived possible. How do you defend against an enemy who turns your own environmental nightmares into their basic life support systems? Dr. Chen's research team had continued to develop new applications for their discoveries. They'd created what they called pocket biomes, small devices that could instantly reproduce Earth normal conditions in a localized area. To humans, they were basically portable air conditioners. To aliens, they were weapons of mass terror. The turning point came during what would later be known as the Battle of Colony 7. The alien fortress was supposed to be impregnable, with shields designed to withstand any known weapon. Captain Rodriguez's solution. She had her team set up a temporary Earth park complete with sprinklers, wind chimes, and actual grass. "This is Captain Rodriguez to Alien Command," she broadcast as her teams deployed their weapons. "We are prepared to begin our standard Earth morning routine. You have 5 minutes to evacuate before we start our daily garden maintenance." The alien commander, watching in horror as humans casually set up lawn chairs and began unpacking picnic baskets, immediately surrendered. The official surrender document cited imminent exposure to recreational Earth activities as the reason. Back on Earth, Dr. Chen was studying the captured alien technology from the lunar base when he made another breakthrough. "They didn't just fear our environment," he announced to the Defense Council. "They designed all their technology to be unusable under Earth normal conditions. We don't even need to fight them, we just need to introduce them to our weather." Captain Rodriguez immediately incorporated this insight into her strategies. Her ships now carried what they called climate packages, literally boxes of Earth air, water, and soil samples. The mere threat of opening one was usually enough to secure an alien surrender. "The best part," Rodriguez told her crew after their latest victory, "is that they keep making our job easier. Every time they document another horrifying aspect of Earth life, they're just giving us more ammunition." The aliens had recently added human recreational activities to their list of Earth hazards after observing a group of children playing soccer. Captain Rodriguez's team had immediately organized a sports tournament near their next target. The alien base surrendered before the first game began. As news of humanity's successes spread, the Galactic Council's worst nightmare was realizing that their perfect prison had become humanity's perfect launching pad. They had given humans everything they needed: detailed documentation of alien weaknesses, technical specifications of their technology, and most importantly, the motivation to prove them wrong. Should we tell them that we're actually trying to minimize casualties, Rodriguez asked Dr. Chen during a strategy session. I mean, we're basically just threatening them with a pleasant spring day. Chen shook his head, watching as another alien outpost surrendered at the sight of humans setting up a lemonade stand. Let them keep thinking we're crazy enough to weaponize photosynthesis. It's working better than actual weapons ever could. The crowning achievement came when Rodriguez's team captured a major alien fleet by challenging them to a water balloon fight. The aliens, convinced they were facing some form of advanced chemical warfare, retreated so fast they created a new faster-than-light speed record. As humanity's influence expanded, marked not by destruction but by the spread of Earth-normal environments, Captain Rodriguez couldn't help but appreciate the irony. The aliens had tried to imprison humanity on Earth, only to discover that Earth itself was humanity's greatest asset. Next target, she announced to her crew, studying the star chart. And remember, everyone pack your sunscreen. Apparently, the aliens think it's nuclear armor. The Galactic Council's worst nightmare began with what they thought was a massive malfunction in their sensor networks. Thousands of Earth-like environmental signatures were appearing simultaneously across multiple sectors. The reality was far worse. It wasn't a malfunction. Humanity had launched Operation Terraforma Non Grata. Dr. Chen's latest invention, the Pocket Earth Propagator PEP, had gone into mass production. Each human ship now carried hundreds of these devices, capable of creating Earth-normal conditions anywhere in space. To humanity, it was a basic life support system. To the aliens, it was like watching their worst nightmares multiply. Status report: Captain Rodriguez commanded from the bridge of the U.S. Dandelion, named specifically to terrify the aliens, who considered the flower an aggressive invasive species. All ships report ready, Captain, her executive officer replied. Operation Spring Break is ready to commence. The combined human fleet had been divided into what they called weather patterns. Storm Fleet would deploy oxygen-rich atmospheres. Rain Fleet handled the water distribution. And Garden Fleet, Rodriguez's personal favorite, was responsible for deploying what the aliens termed aggressive vegetation. The Galactic Council gathered in emergency session as reports flooded in. High Councillor Zrixtal's membrane wings had gone from their usual shimmer to a pale, sickly translucence. They're not just surviving in those conditions, they stammered, all 8 eyes blinking in distress. They're replicating them. They're spreading Earth. The panic reached new heights when the Council discovered that humans had not only adapted their containment field technology but had improved it. The specifications they'd so helpfully provided in their imprisonment protocols had been turned into blueprints for environmental terraforming devices. Do you mean to tell me, Ambassador Klee Pop wobbled violently, that the prison we designed is now their fortress, and they've learned to make more of them? Dr. Memsilplix's probability calculator finally gave up and displayed a simple message: told you so. The human offensive moved with the efficiency of a well-oiled machine. Each fleet had its role, coordinated with the precision of a planetary parks and recreation department. They weren't just winning battles, they were landscaping the galaxy. This sector needs more humidity, Rodriguez commented, studying the tactical display. Rain Fleet, deploy afternoon shower pattern. Garden Fleet, stand by for post-rain operations. The aliens watched in horror as humans casually transformed hostile space into what they called shirt-sleeve environments. Their weapons, designed to operate in sterile, controlled conditions, began failing as trace amounts of water vapor appeared in the air. Their environmental suits, meant to protect them from extreme conditions, couldn't handle what humans considered nice weather. Captain Rodriguez received a priority message from Dr. Chen. Analysis of captured alien tech confirms they literally built their entire civilization around avoiding conditions we consider comfortable. Their materials degrade in oxygen. Their power systems fail in humidity. They never expected anyone to actually want Earth-like conditions. The Council's panic reached its peak when they realized the full extent of humanity's advantages. Humans weren't just resistant to these harsh conditions, they required them to thrive. Every attempt to contain them had only given them more tools to work with. They're using photosynthesis as a power source, one council member shrieked. They're deliberately exposing themselves to dihydrogen monoxide for recreation. They're cultivating microscopic organisms and consuming them. The last part referred to yogurt, which had recently been classified as a biological weapon by the Galactic Council. As the human fleets advanced, they left behind a trail of habitable systems, each transformed to match Earth's deadly conditions. Alien populations fled from what they saw as an advancing wall of environmental disasters, not realizing that they were running from what humans called perfect camping weather. The breaking point came when humanity deployed their masterstroke. They began broadcasting what they called Earth's Greatest Hits, a compilation of normal Earth phenomena. The sight of waves crashing on beaches, wind blowing through trees, and children splashing in puddles caused mass evacuations of alien stations. "They're using psychological warfare," the council declared, watching in horror as humans casually set up parks and gardens in conquered territories. Actually, Dr. Chen's message to the council read, "We're just making ourselves at home, but if you want to call it warfare, we're fine with that too." The aliens' realization that their perfect prison had become humanity's launching pad was complete. They had given humans everything they needed: a detailed list of their own weaknesses, the technology to exploit them, and the motivation to prove them wrong. As Captain Rodriguez watched another alien fleet retreat from an advancing front of what was essentially a mild spring breeze, she couldn't help but smile. "You know what they say," she mused to her crew. "One species' Deathworld is another species' paradise." The Galactic Council, watching their carefully constructed order crumble in the face of humidity and oxygen, finally understood their fundamental mistake. They hadn't imprisoned humanity on a Deathworld. They'd tried to cage a species in its natural habitat, and that species had decided to take their habitat on tour. "Should we deploy the final phase?" Rodriguez asked Earth Command. The response came back immediately: "Release the puppies." The day humanity took over the Galactic Council headquarters began, appropriately enough, with a weather forecast. Captain Rodriguez, standing on the bridge of the UA's Dandelion, cleared her throat and activated the galaxy-wide broadcast system. Today's forecast calls for partly cloudy skies, a gentle breeze, and complete structural reform of galactic governance. High chance of surrenders with scattered diplomacy throughout the day. Don't forget your picnic baskets. The Council headquarters, a massive space station designed specifically to maintain the most sterile, Earth-unlike conditions possible, found itself surrounded by the combined weather patterns fleet. Leading the formation was Dr. Chen's latest creation, a ship that was essentially a flying botanical garden. "Final chance for peaceful resolution," Rodriguez broadcast. "We're prepared to introduce Earth-standard atmospheric conditions to your station." Or, as we call it, nice weather. Inside the council chamber, panic had reached new heights. High Councillor Zrixtal's membrane wings were practically transparent with fear as they watched humans in their environmental attack suits, standard workout clothes, prepare for boarding. "They're going to expose us to dihydrogen monoxide," someone screamed. Worse, Dr. Memsilplix's probability calculator displayed, "They're going to make us try something called ice cream." The humans had prepared what they called a diplomatic package, a demonstration of their complete mastery over the conditions the aliens feared most. Dr. Chen had outdone himself, creating a portable Earth park complete with a small fountain, some potted plants, and a gentle breeze generator. "The package is ready," Captain Chen reported from his lab. "Remember, to them, this is basically bringing miniature apocalypses as negotiating props." The council watched in horror as humans casually strolled into their chamber, carrying their weapons, water bottles, potted plants, and most terrifyingly, a small oscillating fan. Captain Rodriguez led the delegation, followed by Dr. Chen and his team of environmental specialists, mostly gardeners and meteorologists. "Let's be clear," Rodriguez announced, setting up what the aliens recognized as a PEP device. "We can make this entire station Earth normal in about 10 minutes. Or we can talk about a new arrangement." To demonstrate their point, Dr. Chen activated a small humidifier. 3 council members fainted. "You don't understand," Zrixtal pleaded, all 8 eyes fixed on the slowly rising water vapor. "Those conditions are lethal." "Actually," Chen replied, taking a sip from his water bottle, causing several more council members to flinch, "we understand perfectly. You built your entire civilization around avoiding anything Earth-like, which means you handed us the perfect leverage when you tried to imprison us there." Rodriguez stepped forward, casually adjusted the fan's settings, causing another wave of panic, and laid out humanity's terms. "Here's the deal. We're not interested in conquering the galaxy. We just want to be able to live comfortably. Which, fortunately for you, means maintaining conditions you consider horrifically dangerous in our own spaces." The negotiations that followed were the shortest in galactic history, largely because humans kept absent-mindedly adjusting their environmental weapons while talking. The new galactic order was established under what became known as the Live and Let Live Accord. Humans would maintain their Earth-like conditions in their own territories, while aliens would get guaranteed safe spaces free from the terror of humidity and oxygen. We'll even help you design better environmental suits, Dr. Chen offered, which caused considerable confusion among the aliens who couldn't understand why humans would help protect others from conditions they themselves sought out. As the final documents were being signed, the aliens insisted on using digital formats, as Earth paper was considered a hazardous material. Captain Rodriguez couldn't resist one final demonstration. She opened a window blind, letting in natural starlight. The entire council dove under their desks. By the way, she added casually, we're keeping the containment field technology. We found it really useful for maintaining parks. The new era of galactic cooperation was marked by strict environmental zoning laws and a lot of airlock systems. Humans became known as the crazy species who could walk through clouds of oxygen, handle liquid water, and voluntarily expose themselves to plants. Dr. Chen's final report to Earth Command included a note that became famous throughout human space in trying to imprison us in what they thought was hell. They gave us the keys to heaven. And then they had to admit we were the devils they couldn't keep down. As for the Galactic Council, they maintained their authority, albeit with a new understanding of relative environmental hazards and a healthy respect for the species that treated their worst nightmares as vacation spots. Remember, Captain Rodriguez told the Council in her closing remarks, one person's Deathworld is another person's garden paradise. Now, who wants to learn about something we call swimming pools? The sound of mass panic that followed was almost as sweet as the victory itself.